every single time I turn on the camera, I Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm Isha. This is Adventure with Isha, and today's video is going to be about the ESFP. The channel is called Adventure with Isha because I've been traveling for about 8 years, and honestly, I've traveled my whole life. I was born in Sri Lanka and we had to move around the world, and so travel really is my natural state. I've seen a lot of the world at this point, and the one thing that I think the world could really use right now is radical love for yourself and radical love for everyone else. And I found one of the best tools for understanding yourself and others is Myers-Briggs. So I'm doing a huge series of videos just about Myers-Briggs. If you're new to the channel, welcome. So far, I have done videos about all the intuitives. They are in a playlist for you. And today we're starting with the first of the sensors. So the sensing types are completely different to the intuitive types. If you're completely unfamiliar with Myers-Briggs, I've done 2 introductory videos as well. So you can have a look at those where I outline what the 4 letters mean. And then I talk about how that's not really an accurate way to use Myers-Briggs. And so we look at the cognitive functions in the second video. And so in these 16 personalities videos, I'm going over the cognitive functions for each of the types and also talking about what happens when each of the types becomes stressed and goes into their loop state. And as well as that, I go over their grip state when they get stuck in their 4th and inferior function. So let's get started with the ESFP, also known as the entertainer. The biggest dividing line in Myers-Briggs, as I see it, is between the sensors and the intuitives. Intuitives really live in their heads. Intuitives are constantly making connections between things, intuiting things. Right? It's all about abstract conceptual thinking. Whereas sensors, the big dividing line here is because sensors live more in the present. They are in the material, real, physical, sensory world, which is where intuitives and sensors, when they communicate, sometimes there's some wires crossed between these 2 types. Anyway, before I get carried away rambling on about the difference between intuitives and sensors, let's get into the cognitive functions of the ESFP. So ESFPs, as their cognitive function stack, have SE as their dominant function, extroverted sensing, followed by introverted feeling, followed by extroverted thinking, followed by introverted intuition. SEFITENI. Very different from what we've seen so far in all the intuitive stacks. What does this mean? For an ESFP, their dominant function is SE. Their dominant function is simply being present with their senses. That is their gift. That is their superpower. So ESFPs are excellent in the moment, right? They're not in their heads. They are right here, right now with their surroundings. So they love to kind of learn as they go. Lots of trial and error with ESFPs. They love to just try things out in the real world and make their mistakes, learn from their mistakes, and then move on. They are sensory driven, they are spontaneous. ESFP's second function is FI, introverted feeling, which is all about their own feelings about a situation or a person, whatever it may be, and their core value system. FI is also empathetic and authentic. It's to do with authenticity. So ESFPs tend to value spontaneity, authenticity, core values, feelings, the present moment. TE, their third function, is a slightly weaker function and is to do with getting stuff done. It's a task-oriented function, and so they may be slightly weaker at getting stuff done, completing things. TE is also about efficiency, so they might not be the most efficient type. And TE is about results, so they might also not be so results-oriented. But as they get older, ESFPs tend to use that third function more, and so they tend to be a little bit more goal-oriented, results-oriented, efficient, task-oriented as they get older. Their last function is introverted intuition, NI, which is all about seeing into the future and thinking a few steps ahead. So notice again that the last function is exactly the opposite of the first function. So their SE is all about being in the moment, being present. Their NI is all about looking ahead. And so ESFPs tend to not be so good at knowing what's coming next. So ESFPs tend to not be so good at seeing the consequences of their actions, if that makes sense. So their own intuitive personal insight about what's going to happen in the future, the vision, that tends to be their weakest thing and tends to be their Achilles heel. So that's an ESFP in a nutshell. They are known as the entertainer because they are so present. When you're with an ESFP, they are right here, right now with you. They're not in their heads. They're not thinking of something else. They are here, right now, with you, and you feel that presence with an ESFP. They're not afraid of being spontaneous, then they pretty much just live in the present moment. That is their superpower. When ESFPs are stressed out, they go into their loop, which is their first function going into their third function, back to their first function, back to their third function, and they skip their second function. The second function being the auxiliary function. That's just what it's called. So they go from SE to TE in this case. So they go from SE, TE, SE, TE, and they skip that middle FI function. What that means is they become overly focused on being in the present and getting stuff done. So they become very achievement oriented all of a sudden. They become overly focused on doing stuff because they're in the present and they're getting stuff done. They're in the present and they're getting stuff done. So they might end up chasing status, for example. ESFPs, known as the entertainer, they tend to kind of value achieving things, but usually it's in line with their core values. When they're stressed out, they're just focused on achieving. They're just focused on some kind of stimulation without purpose. They tend to ignore their feelings, ignore their inner values, and so they're just doing stuff without really thinking about how they feel about it. What ESFPs need to do to break this loop is come back to their second value. Just like all the E-types, what this means is going inwards and kind of coming back to yourself. This is true for all of the extroverts. So ESFPs, their second value is introverted feeling. So what they can do when they're stressed and they're stuck in this kind of loop of achieving and doing is slow down, come back to themselves, and think about what matters to them. Think about their core values, their feelings, and the heart. When ESFPs are really stressed out because of some temporary stressor, something very, very stressful, ESFPs will get stuck in their inferior function. The inferior function for an ESFP is NI, introverted intuition, and so they're going to use the introverted intuition function in an unhealthy way. When they are healthy, ESFPs are optimistic and spontaneous, but when they're in their grip state with the NI, they become uncharacteristically pessimistic about the future. Remember, NI is all about an insight into the future. It's a visionary function, and when it's when it's used in an unhealthy way, it will be very bleak. It'll be very pessimistic. It'll be imagining worst case scenarios. It'll be used to overanalyze the future, which means they can become a little paranoid when they're really stressed out as well. So to close out the ESFP then, ESFPs, when you are present and in line with your core values, your energy is magnetic. People love ESFPs. ESFPs are the entertainer. They are so fun to be around. They are probably one of the most fun and spontaneous types in all of the 16 personalities. When you are grounded in your values and you're in touch with your emotions, your presence is the gift, is what the world needs. That deep joy that ESFPs bring into any room is highly contagious. The stereotype of an ESFP is that you guys are the partiers. You're the partiers of Myers-Briggs. And so ESFPs continue to party, continue to light up the rooms that you walk into because we love to see it. The message on this channel is one of radical love. Remember to radically love yourself. Understanding yourself is the first step to loving yourself, and Myers-Briggs is a wonderful tool for it. I hope you keep joining me on this journey to understanding yourself and others through the lens of Myers-Briggs. That's the first of the senses done. Remember to embody love for yourself and for everyone else. See you in the next video. Bye. So So keep joining me on this journey where we journey through. So I hope you keep joining me on this journey where we journey through. So I hope you keep joining me on this. So I hope you keep